Hi, this is Professor Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at FIT. Continuing with our video for presets on the bypass ring project, JD237. We had discussed in the last video how our layout option, the one that we had chosen to work with using flow, is not going to work properly. So I can, for now, delete those stones and go back to work on getting a layout that's predictable. And there's actually a goodness in doing this because it will allow me to do a little more accurate drawing. When I laid these stones out initially, I hadn't actually made the model yet. I've made the model now. So I actually have the curves that the surface is made from. And I can project these to the Z-plane. And offset to find the center on these two. Usually the easiest way to offset and find a center is to, well, a couple of routes. We can just come over and offset the full distance. It's not perfect, but it's close. Undo, and then do it again and see what Rhino said the distance was. It says it's 1.8, so if we do 0.9, that should give us a center line. If I do it from the other side, it'll give me a slightly different center line. And if I offset again, I can visually split the difference. And that'll be accurate enough for our center line. And we know our stones are 1.2. And we know we have a 0.07 buffer. And this is going to give us a more accurate set of curves to work with. And since that is the case, these become dubious. I will group them together in case I want them, and put them in storage. I'm going to project this curve, my center line, onto my surface. Delete input equals no. And now that I have that curve, I know I don't need that much of it. I'm going to go ahead and split it off where I no longer need it. I know I don't need it beyond this point. Just give myself a curve to cut it with. Okay, I'm going to flow this curve up onto my model. And as we learned from the last video, it's very important to visually check that out and see that it looks right, which it does. Except for, I flowed rigid. I had the setting flow along curve, rigid equals no. There. Yeah, that's fine. I do want those curves actually because they're going to allow me to at least establish the distance thought, because I did carefully pick out where I wanted this first stone to be when I did my drawing. So take the stone at this point and this line for the ending of my tray. I'm going to have to explode that tray. So this line, the outline of my first stone, and the center point are all going to be useful to me up in three-dimensional space. Flat, round, there we go. That's about all that'll be useful to me, but it's something. I'll group these and send them back into storage. So this is important because it's going to give me, when you do flow, you really have to have, or array. We're going to do an array along curve. You really need to know where the stones begin. And in my initial drawing, that's where I had decided I wanted them. So this center point ended up being off the center line, which isn't good. But I can just place one by hand. A point near snap. And put it roughly alongside where that point is. It's not that critical. Going to do my line normal that we had done before, but now I'll do it in location. And like before, I'll do this like -2. -3 ended up being pretty extreme. Okay, so that's the location for my first stone. Going to take a stone and cutter, and I'm going to do the same step we did before. Transform, orient, copy, yes, scale, no. Point and end as my snaps. Point in the middle of the girdle, end of that vertical line. Point that I just placed. End of my new radiating line, and escape. That puts that stone where I want it. Okay. So, now that I have that in position, I need to array along curve. Arraying along a curve, it's important that the curve you're going to array along begins right in the middle of the object you want to array. So in this case, I'm going to split this center line with this normal line that I had drawn. So there we have it. And now that I have that, I'll bring back the cutter and the stone. I need to know which direction this is flowing in, because I need to make sure that the arrows are flowing away from the beginning of that curve. So now that I know that, I can begin my array along curve. Take the cutter and the stone and transform array along select path curve. This time the distance is the most critical thing for me. So I'm just going to put in the distance at 1.2. I'm going to go for 0.18, so 1.38. And that should set those stones up for me very nicely. Turn off the cutters. Yeah, I like that. So I only need 4 stones, so the 5th one I can delete. Now I want to put down the end of my tray down here. That would be useful for me. About the distance I plotted out here should be good, but I don't know offhand how to make that work in theory. But I actually do. I'm going to reverse engineer this. I'm going to take the first stone, the last stone, and this curve. And I'm going to reverse flow. Flow along curve. Use that as the first. Use this as the second. And that should bring my stones back down. Now these stones are useless because they're all warped and messed up because I didn't use rigid, but that was on purpose. I wanted to just keep them flush on my piece here. I'm going to project this to C-plane. Change it to the silver color, the pale blue. And I'm going to extend. And then trim on the other side, just to get it right where I want it to be, like so. Okay, I'm going to take one of these points from each of these stones. So I'm going to ungroup, and I'll take the point at the girdle. Windows select comes in really handy sometimes, guys. It looks like I'm going to have to ungroup again. There was more than one level of grouping going on. I only want the one at the girdle. So if my selection gives me both, I'll have to go back and control click to remove the first one. And I'm going to project this to C-plane. And this I'll go ahead and hit yes, enter, because I'm only going to need it for this purpose. I would like to know how far this is from the center. Circle center radius, point. Same thing in the opposite direction here. Where this intersects should give me enough room. And let me know where I can put that second line. The partner to this one. Curve perpendicular. Both sides. Point. Now, once again, Rhino has its foibles when it comes to this command. if you want to do from point, you have to be in an orthographic view. Like that. Trim. Okay. Now that I've got that, I can use these to tidy up this drawing. And this is the revised frame for my stone layout. And this I can project downward onto my flow surface. I don't need these points anymore, nor do I need the flattened stones that came in all distorted. Like I said, that was simply a layout tool. So, I have my tray, which I will now flow. And that will land precisely where I want it. I just have that original curve here. I don't want to have duplicates, so if I know I have a duplicate, I delete it. Okay, I'm going to trim out the center line. Just tidy up my drawing. Okay. And now, what I would like to do is I would like to be able to split right between these stones, which is going to be a challenge. But it is necessary. So I'll take a second to think about how I'm going to do that. Okay, I've figured it out. I'm going to draw a sphere. Spheres and circles are marvelous for creating geometry that you can snap to. 2-point sphere.